and it was the... Look, colleagues, it is absolutely fantastic to welcome you to the Cabinet, our first meeting, and it was the honour and privilege of my life to be invited by the King, His Majesty the King yesterday, to form a government, and to form the Labour government of 2024. And now we hold our first Cabinet meeting. So I welcome you to it. We have a huge amount of work to do. So now we get on with our work.
The initial tremor of concern emerged from a widely shared clip capturing Starmer addressing the budget's impact on the National Health Service. His pronouncements, delivered with a noticeable stiffness, detailed funding injections and commended the Health Secretary's progress. Yet, it wasn't his words that captivated viewers, but his physical presentation. A persistent, almost involuntary, left-to-right swinging of his jaw became immediately apparent, a tic that online observers swiftly highlighted. His gaze, though generally forward, betrayed a distinct unease, a restlessness that seemed incongruous with the solemnity of the parliamentary setting. The overall impression was one of a man visibly struggling for self-control under the intense public gaze. This initial observation, initially a whisper in the digital ether, rapidly escalated. People began to openly question his state, their suspicions coalescing around a startling accusation, that Starmer might have been under the influence of some substance during this crucial session. What began as a fringe theory quickly ignited, spreading like wildfire across social media platforms, particularly Twitter, where hashtags concerning his appearance dominated trending topics for hours. The online frenzy surrounding Starmer's behavior intensified dramatically with the release of a second, even more perplexing video. This footage, a tight close-up from another point in the budget proceedings, offered an uncomfortably intimate view of his facial expressions. As the clip unfolded, Starmer's features seemed to subtly, yet profoundly, contort. His brow furrowed, not in concentration, but in what appeared to be an arduous effort to suppress involuntary movements. A distinct sheen of perspiration glistened on his forehead, incongruous with the seemingly controlled environment of the chamber. But it was his eyes that commanded the most attention, darting erratically, almost feverishly, as if overwhelmed by sensory input. His mouth, at times, seemed to operate independently of his speech, exhibiting a faint grimace or a barely perceptible twitch of the lips. The brevity of the clip, just a few seconds, belied its potent impact. "Watch this, watch his face right," urged an online commentator, their voice a blend of disbelief and alarm. "This is not right, just watch this, what the is going on here, what the look at it, look at it, he is sweating, he's either had a snort or something of that nature, but look at the state of that, for real, look at it." The raw, unfiltered commentary accompanying the footage mirrored the profound shock and confusion felt by many who viewed it. The very notion of a Prime Minister appearing anything less than fully lucid on such a nationally significant day was deeply unsettling. When viewed consecutively, these two clips painted a deeply disturbing tableau for a significant portion of the public. The recurring jaw movement, the restless eyes, the visible perspiration, the subtle yet persistent facial tics, while each might be individually dismissed as a momentary lapse, collectively they began to form a compelling pattern, an undeniable sense that something was profoundly amiss. Online speculation swiftly transitioned from mere questions to outright accusations. Despite the acknowledged absence of concrete evidence, the powerful visual cues proved sufficient to ignite widespread suspicion. TikTok, in particular, became a fertile ground for content, with users crafting myriad variations of the clips, layering dramatic music, applying slow-motion effects, and meticulously dissecting every frame. Comment sections overflowed with theories, ranging from plausible explanations like exhaustion or stress to more extreme suggestions of illicit substance use. The recurring phrase, "something isn't right here," quickly became a shared sentiment, a collective expression of unease and bewilderment. It is imperative to underscore, as many commentators themselves have, that no definitive proof has emerged to substantiate the claims of substance use. Lacking a medical examination or an explicit admission, such accusations remain firmly in the realm of speculation. One would naturally presume, as numerous observers pointed out, that a Prime Minister, especially on a day as crucial as a budget announcement, would be entirely clear-headed and in complete control of their faculties. The ramifications of a national leader being under the influence during such a pivotal event are staggering, raising serious questions about governmental integrity, decision-making processes, and national security. Nevertheless, despite the absence of irrefutable evidence, the visual information presented in these two clips is undeniably unsettling. There is no gainsaying that Starmer's conduct in these moments markedly diverged from his established public persona. He is widely recognized for his measured delivery, his composed demeanor, and his often stoic presence. The erratic movements, the apparent discomfort, the conspicuous signs of physical agitation, all were distinctly uncharacteristic. This departure from his norm is precisely what ignited the intense scrutiny and the rapid spread of concern. Many seasoned observers of political discourse, who have witnessed Starmer in countless debates and public appearances, voiced their surprise. "I've never seen him act like that before," was a frequent remark, emphasizing the unusual nature of his presentation. The overwhelming consensus among those who viewed the footage was that his behavior appeared very, very suspicious. This incident powerfully illustrates the profound influence of visual media in shaping public perception, particularly in the current era of viral content. A mere few seconds of footage, captured and disseminated across myriad platforms, possesses the capacity to spark a national conversation and generate widespread speculation, irrespective of the factual basis of the claims. In the absence of official explanations or rebuttals, the void is frequently filled by burgeoning theories, some plausible, others wildly speculative. The Starmer incident serves as a stark reminder of the intense scrutiny faced by public figures, where every gesture, every expression, every subtle movement can be magnified, meticulously analyzed, and widely interpreted by an increasingly vigilant and often skeptical public. The question of what truly transpired during those moments within the House of Commons remains unanswered, but the visual evidence presented in those two short clips continues to reverberate, leaving many to ponder, something isn't right here. The normally predictable rhythms of the House of Commons were thrown into disarray during the recent budget debate, not by any unexpected fiscal revelation, but by the perplexing behavior of a key parliamentary figure, Saki Star. What began as a subtle ripple of unease within the chamber quickly escalated into a torrent of online speculation, raising profound questions about the Prime Minister's state of mind during a crucial national event. The first snippet of footage, now a viral sensation, captured Starmer mid-address, discussing vital NHS funding. His words, delivered with a discernible strain, spoke of necessary injections of capital and praised the Health Secretary. Yet, it was the disconcerting, almost involuntary, lateral motion of his jaw that seized immediate attention. This initial reaction, initially confined to the more speculative corners of online forums, rapidly gained traction. Whispers of suspicion quickly morphed into outright accusations, coalescing around the shocking suggestion that Starmer might have been under the influence of some narcotic during this pivotal parliamentary session. The idea, initially dismissed by many as mere conspiracy, spread with alarming speed across various digital platforms, most notably Twitter, where hashtags referencing his appearance remained trending for hours. The concern surrounding Starmer's conduct intensified exponentially with the emergence of a second, even more bewildering, clip. This footage, a stark close-up taken at a different point in the budget proceedings, offered an unsettlingly intimate glimpse into his condition. As the video played, Starmer's features seemed to contort in subtle, yet deeply unsettling, ways. His brow was furrowed, not in concentration, but in what appeared to be a desperate attempt to suppress involuntary movements. A palpable sheen of perspiration glistened on his forehead, starkly visible despite the controlled environment of the chamber. But it was his eyes, once again, that became the focal point of alarm, darting erratically, almost frantically, as if processing an overwhelming barrage of sensory information. His mouth, at times, seemed to move independently of his speech, forming a fleeting grimace, a barely perceptible twitch of the lips. Though brief, lasting only a few seconds, the clip's impact was profound. "Watch this, watch his face right," urged an online commentator, their voice a blend of incredulity and alarm. "This is not right, just watch this, what the is going on here, what the look at it, look at it, look at it, look at it, he is sweating, he's either had a snort or something of that nature, but look at the state of that, for real, look at it." The raw, unfiltered commentary accompanying the clip captured the widespread shock and disbelief that a Prime Minister, on such a momentous day, could appear anything less than fully lucid. When viewed in quick succession, these two brief video segments painted a deeply troubling portrait for many. The ceaseless jaw movement, the restless, darting eyes, the visible beads of sweat, the subtle yet persistent facial tics, individually, each might have been dismissed as an isolated anomaly, a fleeting lapse in composure. But together, they began to form a distinct and unsettling pattern, an undeniable sense that something was profoundly amiss. The online speculation rapidly escalated from tentative inquiries to outright accusations. While many readily acknowledged the absence of concrete evidence, the sheer power of the visual cues proved sufficient to ignite widespread suspicion. TikTok, in particular, became a vibrant hub of activity, with users generating countless variations of the clips, overlaying them with dramatic scores, applying slow-motion effects, and meticulously dissecting every frame. The comment section swelled with a myriad of theories, ranging from the mundane, like exhaustion or stress, to the extreme, such as illicit substance use. The phrase, "something isn't right here," evolved into a collective mantra, a widespread expression of shared unease and bewilderment. It is absolutely vital to emphasize, as numerous commentators themselves were careful to do, that no definitive proof has yet emerged to substantiate the grave claims of substance use. Without the benefit of a medical examination or an explicit admission, such accusations remain firmly within the realm of speculation. One would, naturally, harbor the fervent hope, as many pointed out, that a Prime Minister, particularly on a day of such national significance as a budget announcement, would be entirely sober and in full command of their faculties. The potential implications of a national leader being under the influence during a critical governmental event are staggering, raising deeply concerning questions about the integrity of governance, the soundness of decision-making, and the very fabric of national security. However, regardless of the absence of conclusive evidence, the visual testimony presented in these two clips is undeniably unsettling. There is no gainsaying that Starmer's behavior in these captured moments represented a significant departure from his established public persona. He is typically recognized for his measured delivery, his calm and collected demeanor, and his often unflappable presence. The erratic movements, the apparent discomfort, the visible signs of physical agitation, all these attributes were strikingly out of character. This marked deviation from his usual comportment is precisely what fueled the intense scrutiny and the rapid proliferation of public concern. Many longtime observers of political discourse, who have witnessed Starmer in countless debates, press conferences, and public appearances, expressed genuine astonishment. "I've never seen him act like that before," was a common refrain, underscoring the truly unusual nature of his presentation. The overwhelming consensus among those who viewed the footage was that his behavior looked very, very suspicious. This incident vividly underscores the potent and pervasive role of visual media in shaping public perception, particularly in the current digital age of viral content. A mere few seconds of footage, swiftly captured and disseminated across countless platforms, possesses the astonishing power to ignite a national conversation and generate widespread speculation, irrespective of the ultimate veracity of the underlying claims. In the absence of official explanations or definitive rebuttals, the resulting informational vacuum is almost invariably filled by a burgeoning array of theories, some grounded in possibility, others wildly improbable. The Starmer incident stands as a potent and sobering reminder of the relentless and intense scrutiny faced by public figures, where every gesture, every fleeting expression, every subtle movement can be magnified, meticulously analyzed, and widely interpreted by an increasingly watchful, and often inherently skeptical, public. The ultimate truth of what truly transpired during those perplexing moments within the hallowed halls of the House of Commons remains elusive, but the unsettling visual evidence presented in those two short clips continues to reverberate, leaving a lingering, profound question in the minds of many: something isn't right here. The recent budget day in the House of Commons, a scene typically dominated by impassioned speeches and financial pronouncements, was unexpectedly overshadowed by a peculiar phenomenon: the unsettling demeanor of Sir Keir Starmer. The first viral clip captured Starmer addressing the vital issue of NHS funding. His words, though delivered with a certain strained formality, were overshadowed by a discernible and persistent lateral movement of his jaw. This involuntary tick, a repetitive side-to-side motion, was immediately noticed and relentlessly dissected by online commentators. His eyes, though ostensibly fixed on the chamber, conveyed a distinct unease, a restlessness that seemed utterly out of place for a leader delivering such a significant statement. The overwhelming impression for many viewers was of a man visibly struggling to maintain his composure under the intense glare of public scrutiny. Rayner exposed. Angela Rayner receives attack from Victoria Starmer about her affairs with Starmer. Business is facing a serious threat under Rachel Rayner's proposed employment rights bill, a measure that critics argue will decimate confidence and push many employers to leave the UK. Despite widespread concern, Labour remains determined to push the bill through, seemingly oblivious to the damaging consequences it may have on the economy and job market. A recent survey conducted by the Institute of Directors paints a worrying picture of how business leaders view the bill. Of the 500 directors surveyed, a staggering 72% believe that this new legislation will further damage economic growth that has already been under severe pressure due to recent political and economic turbulence. Nearly half of those surveyed, 49%, say they would be less likely to hire new staff if the bill comes into force. This is a clear indicator that the bill could stifle employment opportunities at a time when many sectors are still recovering from the effects of the pandemic and Brexit. Adding to concerns, 36% of respondents said they would be more likely to outsource jobs overseas, a move that could lead to further job losses domestically and weaken the UK's industrial base. Furthermore, 23% of business leaders admitted that redundancies are now more likely to be on the horizon due to the bill. This figure alone should alarm policymakers who champion workers' rights but must also consider the practical realities businesses face. Perhaps most striking is the response from 52% of the surveyed directors, who plan to increase their investment in automation and AI technologies. While technological advancement is inevitable and can bring efficiencies, this shift underscores a darker truth. Companies are preparing to replace human jobs with machines rather than risk the new liabilities and restrictions that the bill imposes on employers. This could accelerate job losses in sectors reliant on manual labor and routine tasks, leaving many workers vulnerable. Behind these troubling figures lies a clear political motivation. The bill appears to prioritize keeping trade unions satisfied, often at the expense of business sustainability. The unions, unsurprisingly, have thrown their full support behind the legislation. Labour's close relationship with the unions is well known, and critics argue that this bill is more about securing union backing and funding than balancing the needs of businesses and employees. This dynamic raises pressing questions about Labour's priorities. While protecting workers' rights is essential, doing so at the cost of business confidence and job creation risks harming the very people the party claims to support. Without thriving businesses to provide jobs and economic growth, workers may ultimately lose out. Many employers see this bill as a direct attack on their ability to operate competitively and efficiently in an already challenging economic environment. The message is clear: the government risks driving businesses, and the jobs they provide, out of the country. With the UK economy facing uncertainties from inflation, global supply chain issues, and geopolitical tensions, now is hardly the time to add new burdens on companies struggling to recover. Labour's insistence on pushing this bill despite widespread opposition from business leaders reflects a troubling disconnect between policy and economic realities. This approach may alienate entrepreneurs and investors, both crucial for creating the jobs and growth Britain desperately needs. The future of UK employment and economic health may hinge on whether policymakers listen to these warnings. If the bill proceeds unchanged, many fear it will hasten business closures, increase unemployment, and push the UK further behind other economies. It remains to be seen whether Labour will reconsider its stance or double down on a policy that some view as an existential threat to British business. In summary, Rachel Rayner's employment rights bill is being met with fierce resistance from the business community. The evidence from the Institute of Directors survey is clear: the bill risks stalling economic growth, discouraging hiring, encouraging outsourcing, increasing redundancies, and accelerating automation. At a time when the UK economy needs support and stability, this legislation threatens to do the opposite. Unless Labour reconsiders its position, the consequences for business and workers alike could be dire. Certainly. Here's an expanded continuation of the news article covering the issue in greater detail. The consequences of Rachel Rayner's employment rights bill extend far beyond mere statistics and surveys. They represent a fundamental shift in how businesses will be expected to operate in the UK. For many small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, which form the backbone of the British economy, the bill threatens to introduce a layer of complexity and cost that could prove insurmountable. Unlike large corporations that may have the resources to absorb increased regulatory burdens, SMEs operate on tighter margins and with less financial cushion. The added costs and restrictions could push many to downsize or close altogether, compounding unemployment and economic stagnation. Business leaders have voiced their concerns repeatedly, warning that the bill's provisions around employment rights, redundancy protections, and dispute resolution mechanisms create an environment where employers feel more like adversaries than partners. The risk of increased litigation and higher severance liabilities could lead employers to become more cautious, curbing hiring or even opting to outsource jobs where labour laws are less stringent. Moreover, this bill arrives at a time when UK businesses are already grappling with significant external pressures. The aftershocks of Brexit have disrupted supply chains, increased costs, and created labour shortages in key sectors such as agriculture, hospitality, and manufacturing. The COVID-19 pandemic's economic impact has not fully dissipated, leaving many companies struggling to regain footing. Inflationary pressures and rising energy costs further strain profitability. To layer on a stringent employment bill now risks tipping many businesses over the edge. It's also important to consider the broader macroeconomic implications. With business investment threatened, the UK risks falling behind other advanced economies that are innovating and expanding.